average American, white, black, whatever, does not understand that when democracy declines and fascism rises, they just don't know what that looks like for their everyday life. And because right now, everything still seems and feels very normal. We
Hmm.
know that there will be a swift shift.
How's it going over there in America?
As well as it can be, I guess, in the wake of declining democracy and rising fascism.
Heard you say last episode we were talking that Trump says y'all you might not be getting as many toys. So how was Christmas this year over there for people? That ain't
Well,
funny,
I
but
don't
it's
even
just kind of
know.
funny to me.
People celebrated anyway. I think that most people were using like those buy now pay later apps like Klarna and Affirm, where you can it's like almost like layaway. You can purchase the item on the front end and break it into like either 4 or 6 or 12 payments on the back end. A lot of Americans use that this year because of the economy. People just cannot afford the way they used to be able to afford. So I think
Wow.
kids still had good Christmases, but it was more those buy now, pay later apps probably made a killing just because of people's poverty this year.
Okay. All right. So I wanted to get into it. I see news, I see American news, but I also see global news. Being where I am, I see
hmm
Russian news, I see Japanese news, all the news in the region, and also Vietnamese news. And it's different how they present what's happening in America to us. It's just different.
Okay.
It seems like everything that I look at and when I was in America is they're trying to convince you of a narrative of a certain thing, or
Oh
they're
yeah.
backed by a certain faction. Here, I'm sure there's some type of that type of play involved, but nowhere near the extent of American news. So it seems to be the rest of the world that the American people, Donald Trump is about to go and invade Venezuela and topple another government.
hmm
How do you see this playing out? This back and forth between Venezuela and America. All right, go.
I think that the Venezuelan government, the country of Venezuela, I was in Colombia, what, 2 years ago? Venezuela is and Colombia right next to each other. They border each other. And there were a lot of Venezuelans who had immigrated to Colombia because of the lack of infrastructure in their home country. There was no food in the grocery store. There were no schools. It was, really, really poor. And those were the folks who were actually begging when I was in Cartagena. The tour guide told me, "Oh, those are the Venezuelans." And I was like, "Okay." Well, he said it kind of like, you
Mm,
know,
yeah,
like they look down on them. And so I
right.
asked the tour guide. I was like, "Well, what's happening in Venezuela?" And he gave me the breakdown, right? That the country had been being destabilized the same way that Central and South America had been destabilized in the 80s and 90s, by America. It's just a repeat. It's a wash, rinse, and repeat. When Americans see something that they want, they create whatever narrative they have to get it, and they use whatever means, any means necessary to justify it. And the American people, we just want parks and recs. We want greenways and bridges and universal health care. And we want our children to be able to go to daycare for free and have well funded public education. And our government is taking our tax dollars and using it to colonize and to destabilize countries around the world. I don't think the average American gets that because, again, it is $2,500. You have to stay working in order to maintain to live indoors, and so it's difficult for the average American to be civically engaged,
Right.
to be woke, to be aware of what's actually happening. It's on the surface, it's easier for them to just to go to work, keep their head down, and pay their bills, rather than take their head out of the sand and really think about what is happening around the world. And if we
Right.
can convince, and this is the crazy part, if Trump can convince Americans that their gas prices will go down, I don't see a lot of resistance, to be quite honest. I mean, affordability in this country is such a thing. You have to remember, and I want viewers from around the world to remember that even though America on its surface looks like we have all the modern, everything is great, we have it all. When I travel to other countries, like even Thailand, for instance, their infrastructure is a little better. It's cleaner. It's more efficient. It's more effective. despite all that we have, we are not efficient here in this country. We do not have efficient government. And so, yeah, I see this as a power grab, a land grab, and a black market grab, right? So if there are drugs, this is a way for the United States government to seize those drugs and continue to pump them into black and brown neighborhoods as they have done since the 80s. We know that the CIA placed crack cocaine in black communities in Los Angeles to see what would happen to destabilize those communities. Because what we know is that the elite in this country, or the elite around the world, the 1% of the wealthy, they have to have a working class people in order for them to stay rich, right? And when we think about capitalism, capitalism isn't so much about the item itself, it's the power to control the item, right? So
Right.
it's not the Venezuelans own the capital, which is the gold, which is the
Right.
oil. But
Right.
who
Right.
gets to control the capital is who actually has the power. And
Right.
so what we see is it's not so much about the capital as who gets to control it. And Donald Trump wants to control the capital um, in Venezuela, and he will use any means necessary. I also think this is a distraction. Those the DOJ is uploading images every day on the Epstein files every single day. I feel like a lot of what he's doing is also to distract from the fact that he is a sexual predator, and all it's kind of like smoke and mirrors. If I can talk about Venezuela and blow up the boats and do all these things and get people all riled up, they'll forget that I'm a sexual predator. They might not forget, but they won't focus so much on me being a sexual predator.
Yeah, and everything you said is probably all true. My thing is, do you think the American people, though, if we go into invade another country? By the way, Donald Trump said he was gonna drain the swamp. All that stuff he was never gonna do. You know, he's complaining about not getting the Nobel Peace Prize. I think he just did that again yesterday. But he's dropping bombs on Iran. He didn't get us out of Afghanistan. Joe Biden did. Now, Joe Biden didn't get us out in probably the best way, but at least no more
According to
American
Hunter.
soldiers. Yeah, well, at least no more American soldiers and Afghani people,
Yeah.
innocent people are dying over there. So he
Right.
got them out.
Right.
Trump didn't do that. He had 4 years to get them out. And now he's dropping bombs
Mm-hmm.
on quote unquote fishing vessels. And now listen what he said the other day when they asked him about this subject about Venezuela. Let's see. Share the screen. My Lord, I hate listening to him talk.
Trump, but
Here we go. Oh, there you go, whining again. Anyway, I can't stand when he do that. But anyway, so he said we want it back. And
that's what white people say all the time.
well, what
I
does
guess
that
what I'm
mean,
saying
Mr.
is,
President? Why won't they say, what
yeah,
does that mean, Mr. President? What does that
because
mean?
they
You're
know
gonna
what it
go,
means. History shows us what it means. History
yeah,
tells us that it means, and this is the thing: the fact that he thinks now, them people who come over here don't have no rights in this country, according to him, but he can go to their country and have all these rights. Like, make
right,
it make sense. The hypocrisy, and this is why you know that they have to do the mental gymnastics in order to even try to justify what they say. This is at the bottom baseline. This is white supremacy 101, right? That I want something, I believe I should have it, and I'm going to do everything I can to get it. And who basically Trump runs on that who gonna check me boo type mentality. And nobody does. The Congress has not checked him. The Supreme Court has not checked him. The voters have not checked him, as
that's
well
because it's
as
the oligarchy now. And going back to your point
yeah,
earlier, you
yeah,
said that um, all the things that American people want. It
mm-hmm,
would be one thing, it's still not going to be right, but it would be one thing if American people got all those things that you mentioned and they were
right,
doing this stuff. But
right.
the people who are getting rich and who are the only people benefiting off of it are the people that you saw sitting behind him at the inauguration, those
That's right.
billionaires. And
That's right.
there's probably 30 or 40 of them. And all these
Yep,
huge companies are benefiting off of this. And the American people, as you mentioned, can't afford things and they're having to work 2 and 3 jobs just to pay for rent. And when you mentioned $2,000 rent is just insane to me.
that's what the
I
average
think
is. I
it's an
mean, we're talking
oligarchy
about,
now.
and we're talking about when I say $2,000 rent, Tyler, I'm not talking about New York City. I'm talking about Charlotte, North Carolina, your hometown, where people moved because it was affordable, because it was cheaper than the LAs and the Miamis and the larger cities. But now, with the influx of people who either work remote or who have high paying jobs, who can afford the $2,000 or $3,000, it has driven the housing market here in Charlotte up to where native Charlotteans like myself and you cannot even afford to live in the city. People are having to
Yeah,
move out to the outskirts.
I
Yeah.
shouldn't have moved out to the outskirts. I moved across
Mm.
the world. Yeah, so that is, I get it. I get it.
And so, yeah, and so the oligarchy that you speak of, I think the average person. So I think what I want to say, I think what will ground some of this is this quote from Dr. King right before he died in his last book. He said that um, white America would rather throw away democracy altogether and embrace a native form of fascism to preserve their power.
Mm.
That's what he
Yeah.
said in 1967, right?
Right.
Here we are, 60 years later almost, and his words are coming to pass. The chickens are coming home to roost. And so I know that white Americans get offended when we call them white and not American when we racialize them. But this is squarely at the foot of white Americans, that this rise of fascism that they are watching, because as long as it's the immigrants that they're getting, or the blacks that they're getting, or the poor that they're getting, they're okay. They don't understand that eventually, unless they are in that elite 1%, that they're going to get you too. You just in the
Right.
third or the fourth round, right? We the first draft, right? We the first pick. But then there's going to
Right.
be second, third, fourth round draft picks. And so, yeah, that's where we are, that the average American, white, black, whatever, does not understand that when democracy declines and fascism rises, they just don't know what that looks like for their everyday life. Because right now, everything still seems and feels very normal. We
Mm-hmm.
know that there will be a swift shift, like an overnight shift. We just don't know when. And that, I think, is what's scary for someone like myself, people who study democracy and the decline of democracy, who know there's like these 12 steps and we're on step 10. Like, we know, kind of like Jesus is coming. We just don't know when. And can place, it's hard to operate every single day when there's a sense of impending doom.
So the rest of the world has that same
Mm-hmm.
feeling too. And what I mean by
Oh,
that, I work in an international company and I'm surrounded by people from all over the world and they're all watching and they honestly, they can't believe their eyes. I moved here during the Biden administration. And so
mm-hmm.
they couldn't believe their eyes then for a different reason that we had him
Okay.
still trotting him out there when obviously he had declined to a point where I mean, it was just obvious. And I blame the Democrats for a lot of this mess that we're in now by not
Right.
doing the right thing. And they were gaslighting us. We saw it with our very eyes that the man had declined. And that's not his fault. But
No,
I back the people that were around him that allowed that to happen. Anyway,
that's
I
right.
think that's really a part of the problem that Trump seized upon that. But anyway, but the rest of the world is always looks at American as this beacon of hope. And as they
Baby, we hoping.
see it every day in the news start to kind of erode, they're like, well, if America can't maintain it, nobody can. So I think 2026 is a big year
Huge year.
for
Huge.
democracy, not just
It's
in
huge.
America, but for democracy worldwide.
Worldwide.
And
That's right. 20 are looking at 2026 as the year. Like, it is make it or break it, do or die, because we have a huge opportunity to have a blue wave. I know they've been saying that for several years, blue wave, blue wave. But there really is an opportunity. I do think that Americans are kind of waking up. They're kind of like, wait a minute. I think this was special for here, folks here in Charlotte. Charlotte is a blue city in a red state, well, in a purple state. And, everywhere around us is pretty red. And you have this like little blue beacon. But when ICE and Border Patrol was here, and they were not just in Charlotte, but they were in the surrounding areas, you saw folks in like Stanley County and Gaston County kind of being like, "Oh, wait a minute now, this ain't what we thought. Like, we thought you was
right,
gonna go get them," and they
that's right.
began to see that the them can quickly be you. And
Yeah,
so there has been a slight awakening. And I hate to say this, he's gonna have to do more nefarious, really bad things before the average American truly wakes up. Right? It's gonna have to be some more, and it's not gonna be in Venezuela. It's not gonna be in Iran. It's gonna be right here in these United States.
right.
Something's gonna happen. I don't know if the police gonna kill somebody, and then there's gonna be this huge uprising, and then the military. I don't know what the powder keg is going to be, but there is going to be
Hmm.
a powder keg. And if they were smart, if the Republicans were smart, they would not let that pop off in 2026, because that will definitely influence the midterm elections. If
Right.
they were smart, and if the Democrats were smart, they would let it pop off. They would incite popping off all 2026 to get people riled up, to get people agitated enough to go do something differently than sit at home and watch it from behind their TV screen.
And just from afar, some of the news that I watched, I think some of those people in those rural counties also were sold a bill of goods that they were going to go and arrest these gang members, these quote unquote rapists, all this other stuff that he was hyping up. But then they look out the door and they see the neighbor, Hector, that's been living there for 20 years, ain't never bothered nobody. Hector gas his truck up and go to work. Hector's nice, his family is nice, and then they see Hector crying because Hector's wife got taken down at the Home Depot or at the
That's right.
grocery store.
That's
And they
right.
looking like,
Hector
okay,
share tamales with.
wait. Yeah, they're like, wait a minute now. So they
This is
saw
a
a lot of that too.
a measure too far. Yeah, it was. And
Yeah,
then also you got to think about the schools. So when ICE and Border Patrol was targeting schools, the majority of schools here in North Carolina, the majority of students are white, right? And so you might go to any school you go to, the majority of kids are going to be white at that school. So when you
right,
run into a school, you're affecting white children. Yeah, the black and brown children are there, but
right.
the larger representation of children is going to be white kids. And so we saw white children being exposed to the over policing and the brutality that black and brown children see every day in our neighborhoods, but they got to see it up close and personal. And I'm gonna tell you, those parents were upset that their children will be exposed to the state sanctioned violence in this way. Now I had to remind them that
Mm-hmm,
black and brown children are exposed to this type of violence every single day, and that your child
mm-hmm.
has been, especially lucky to live in this type of cocoon of safety where they have the skin color for the protection. But now you see that skin color is not as protected as it used to be. The color
Especially
green, money.
mass people coming in.
Yeah.
People. Yeah. So and that just
They
takes it to
forgot that the
another
new color
level.
is green,
Yeah.
Tyler. The new color is green. It ain't black or white. This in these Americas, it's always been green, but even more so now. It really does
Yeah.
not matter if you have money, if you have capital, if you have access to capital, you will fare surely better than anyone else of any race. So black people who are rich, the Beyoncés and the Jay-Z's, they're gonna be fine. The Kanye's, they're gonna be fine. It's the rest of us who are going to be scraping and scrimping for our existence in this country.
So
Hmm.
let's we're not gonna go too long tonight, but I
Okay.
want to ask, and maybe we can get into it a little deeper. Who is going to be the savior for the Democratic Party? Because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't have a lot of faith in them. I think right now they look like they're pushing Gavin Newsom. I do not like that nickel slick joker. I just don't.
I don't
I
know.
like Pete Buttigieg, whatever his name is,
Buttigieg.
Buttigieg. I like him,
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
but
He
I
ain't gonna
don't
win.
think that's the person that they're going to push. I think it's going to
Ain't that
be,
man gay?
yeah.
Okay, come
But
on now. We got to be real about it. I'm not being
I know.
homophobic, but they
I know. Oh no, I know you're
literally
not. I know we're not like that. I know we're
they
not like
ran
that.
a
But
whole they ran a whole transphobic campaign 2 years ago that literally won them the presidency. I'm
yeah,
not sure that a person who has an identity that
yeah,
overshadows everything else is the proper candidate. Let me just say it that way. So, Pete, we love you, but I feel like your identity is going to overshadow the actual issues, and they're going to weaponize your identity, and we're never really going to get to where we need to be.
but so this is the problem right now, though. We have that voters, including
Mm-hmm.
myself, have allowed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
We need the victory
Mm-hmm.
so badly that we will take a candidate that can win, but might not be the best candidate for the country or for even your voting needs. I just don't think
You're right.
Gavin Newsom I just think he has bad policies. I like Pete
I think he
Buttigieg's
suffers from
policies.
liberalism. I think he suffers from liberalism, is
Yeah.
what's the problem with Gavin Newsom.
And I just think his
Liberalism is
policies are
unrealistic.
terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's
Yeah.
unrealistic. Some of these things are unrealistic. Some of
Right.
these things, like, we got to start being honest as Democrats,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, I'm not a
Yep.
Democrat, I'm independent. But the Democrats got to start being honest. Some of the stuff that the Republicans say be true.
That's right.
Some
That's
of the
right.
stuff
Some of
be
it.
true. Some of their stuff be right. We don't need to spend all this money on stuff for people. Like, I'm not saying this is not even an attack on welfare, because I have received food stamps and TANF and all the things that people need to sustain themselves in the past. I was a single mom, and so I needed that government assistance. So I'm not even dogging that. What I am saying, though, that there are ways to better utilize the resources that we do have and distribute those resources to the mass.
Right.
And there needs to be a social infrastructure in this country where housing and food and clothing are guaranteed and healthcare is guaranteed. That, to me, is not the liberalism. The liberalism is, we're going to give you all of this and you don't have to do anything. You got to have
That's
some
right.
skin in the game. You got
That's right.
to have some sweat equity. You have
Right.
to take pride in your stuff, in your
That's
place,
right.
in your whatever. And so we can't be too like, oh, they don't deserve anything, but we also can't be like, they don't have to do anything. There has to be a
That's right.
healthy balance. And I think that's what's missing in American politics. everyone is so polarized. There is no one that is like, listen. And we talk about Obama being a centrist, right? Like, look at
Mm-hmm.
hindsight, we were like, Obama could have done this, he could have done that, he didn't do this, he didn't do that, right? But looking back now, that middle of the road approach, he got a lot accomplished. We were able to get
Mm-hmm.
the Affordable Health Care Act because of his middle of the road approach. We were able to
Mm-hmm.
get advances because of his middle of the road approach. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yes, we would want Black people, when we get in power, we would expect someone to be completely like, yeah, they're going to do everything. I don't know if this country can sustain large, sweeping changes. I believe that sustainable change are the small, incremental changes that occur.
Right.
And so I think also as Americans, we have to temper our expectations about what a president can actually accomplish in 4 years. We have to really be thoughtful about not just federal government. I think that a lot of what we see is at our local level. And
Yeah.
again, it is very difficult to attend a city council or county commission meeting when you're working two jobs or you worked all day and now the meetings that, whatever, you have all this stuff happening. It can be, and they can be inaccessible. And so the local government, and here in North Carolina, Tyler, I don't know if you know, we're the only state in the union of the 50 states that does not have a budget because our Republican controlled government. So the Republicans have a supermajority in the Senate, a majority in the
Mm-hmm.
House here in North Carolina, and they have not passed a budget. They're arguing over gambling and marijuana. The House and the Senate want two different things. House wants marijuana. Senate wants marijuana legalization. House wants gambling legalization. And they arguing. Now these good Christians, these good Christians arguing over gambling and marijuana. And so now we don't have a state budget. And we're the only state in the country that does not have a state budget. And so the inefficiency that we see, they blame the Democrats. But literally, the Republicans in North Carolina
Right.
have been in power for the last 15 years. So anything that's wrong, so you're talking about all this crime is rising on these trains, that's under your tutelage, sir, ma'am. This is
Right.
under your watch. And so they keep trying to
Right.
make it seem like Charlotte is so lawless and all this stuff is happening. But all of this stuff is happening under Republican control. And so I do think that there needs to be a literacy that people have about what's actually happening, because then they can see beyond just the dog whistles or the headlines that a Donald Trump or a
Mm-hmm.
Phil Berger or a Destin Hall puts out. The critical thinking is missing. Most Americans are just working hard. They don't have the time to sit back and think critically about what's being said or what's happening. But if we really look at it, our life here in North Carolina, by 2030, corporations will not pay zero taxes in North Carolina. All of the taxes will be the burden of the people. So
Mm.
Walmart, Apple, they can come start a business and will pay no corporate taxes in North Carolina. But the people
Unbelievable.
will sustain this is what, I don't know what to say. We have to really organize. And that's why my job, I feel like, yes, I'm an activist. I name the things and I advocate for change, but I'm also an organizer. I'm in my community every single day, helping people regain their rights so they can become civically engaged. We have a theory. In North Carolina, there are 450,000 Black people who are not registered to vote, who have criminal records. It's most likely they've been told that they can never vote again given erroneous information. My organization is contacting all 450,000 of those people this year to let them know you can vote and we will register you to vote and we will help you get to the polls. We believe that there's a sleeping giant. We're going to awaken that sleeping giant. There's a subset of people whose rights have been demolished, decreased, declined,
Mm-hmm.
people living with criminal histories. And we are here to remind them that once you have completed your sentence, you can civically engage. And we're going to hold them by the hand and walk them through the process of civic engagement. And we are hopeful that through that one, we'll see North Carolina be a blue state, not purple, but clearly blue, and that we'll send Roy Cooper to the Senate, and that we will have a different state and House representative so that we can begin to fund the things that I mentioned earlier. The schools, like our teachers we're 49 out of 50 for education, for teacher pay. But here we are giving Apple zero corporate taxes,
Right. Right.
right? We have slashed Medicaid, but here we are giving Walmart zero corporate taxes. That is the type of stuff that is happening that is able to happen when you keep people working and poor. And I think that the Democrats, if they really want to win, they have to take a page out of Mondami's book. They got to talk about affordability because that's what's on, regardless of class,
Right.
regardless of political party, that's what's on people's minds is affordability.
Right.
And I think a lot of people are tired. Like MAGA has exhausted people. Even the MAGAites is tired of
Yeah.
MAGA. Like I
Yeah, they
think
splitting
people
up
that
right now.
shit.
They have civil war in MAGA
Well,
right
you
now,
got
ain't they?
Candace Owens over here. You got Erica Kirk. Like they go, and then Candace talking about Egypt and all.
Marjorie Taylor Greene done flipped on them. Yeah, Candace done.
And
Yeah,
so
we'll talk about that the next time because that thing is deep.
that's fascinating to me. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
I just want to say really quickly, Candace. I hope you know you is. Well, I can't say the word. Never mind. But okay, you is still a nigga. Okay, like
Yeah.
no matter what, no matter how much boots you lick, no matter how much they invite you to their stuff. At the end of the day, and you're not even light skinned, Candace. You can't even pass. You see what I'm saying? So you already know where you at. You already know where
But
you at, Candace, in
the
the
chickens
racial
came
caste
home to
system of America. Yeah.
the chickens came home to roost with them too because Ben Shapiro and them trained her, and
Yeah.
now she done flipped on them. They taught her the game, and she's taking
And
it
now
to
she done
another
flipped
level.
them.
So,
Yeah, but she better be
but
careful because I'm scared for Candace because you know,
they ain't gonna kill
Candace,
Candace. They
Charlie killed Charlie Kirk. That
I
man
know, but
neck exploded on the TV.
Charlie was messing
And
with
he was
billions.
white.
Well, listen,
And the man who killed him said that he wasn't racist enough. No, what he said? Yeah, they wasn't racist. Basically, the man who killed him, they're saying, was a Nick Fuentes follower. And Fuentes and Kirk had a beef because Fuentes says Kirk wasn't racist enough.
Candace say the person they got ain't killed him. She said it was the Zionist. She said it was Israel.
Now, she might have
So
some points because I've
she
been
said it
watching
was
the she.
Israel. She said because Charlie Kirk turned down money from Netanyahu, and then everything changed.
That's true.
I want to
Well,
say
and that,
this though.
okay,
You advocating for people to go out and vote, which is great. So let's go get those 450,000 people. I want everybody to vote, and
that's right.
affordability should be on the ballot. But
That's
if
right.
you don't want to vote and you want to come holler at your boy, you can also leave America. So just
You can leave.
leave it in the comments if you want a consultation. If you have need more information about how to vote,
Leave comments.
things like that, especially in the state of North Carolina, contact us. We have our email. It'll be in the description. And also leave comments, and my sister will take care of that. But if you want to see about life in East Asia, Southeast Asia, I don't know if I want any more of y'all Americans in Vietnam, to be quite honest with you. So you can go somewhere
Go to
else. I'll try
Thailand.
to help you get there. Yeah, go to Thailand or something like that because I'm enjoying myself over here. But anyway, that's it for another episode of The Activist and the Expat, and we will see you next time.
Bye bye.
All right, we got a